Most people think of California and they picture sunshine, warm beaches, Hollywood, wine country. But California has another side, one that doesn't make the travel brochures. A side with forests so deep that search and rescue teams have lost their own people inside them. Coastlines where motels have been quietly shuttered after guests reported things that couldn't be explained. And desert highways where even today, locals refuse to drive alone after midnight. Tonight, I'm sharing 3 true horror stories from the state of California. Stories that were reported to authorities, shared by survivors, and in some cases, never fully explained. Stay with me through all 3, because story number 3, the one that happened out on the desert highway, is the one that still keeps me up at night. And when you hear how it ends, I think you'll understand why. Let's get into it. Story 1, the Redwood Forest Encounter. In the fall of 2019, a 58-year-old man named Gerald Hoffman drove up to Prairie Creek Redwood State Park for what he described as a solo camping trip he'd been planning for 2 years. Gerald was a retired civil engineer from Sacramento, methodical, experienced. He'd been hiking since his 30s and had logged trails all over the Pacific Northwest. He was not the kind of man who spooked easily. He told his daughter that before he left. "I'll be fine, sweetheart. I've done this 100 times." He set up camp on a Thursday evening, ate, reviewed his trail map, and turned in early. Friday morning, he was on the path by 6 a.m. For the first few hours, everything was exactly what he'd hoped for. The trees up there are massive, some of them 200, 300 feet tall. The canopy blocks out so much light that even at midday, it feels like dusk. Gerald loved that. He later said it felt like walking through a cathedral. Around noon, he stopped for lunch on a fallen log near a creek. That's when he first noticed something off. The trail markers, the small orange discs nailed to the trees every quarter mile, were gone. Not faded, not knocked sideways. Gone, like someone had pried them off clean. Gerald wasn't too concerned yet. He had a compass and a paper map. He continued. By 2 p.m., the forest had gone completely silent. And if you've spent time in old-growth redwood country, you know that silence out there is unusual. There are always birds, always something moving in the underbrush. But that afternoon, there was nothing. That's when he heard the sound. A low, rhythmic knocking, wood on wood, slow and deliberate, coming from somewhere uphill, maybe 100 yards off the trail. Gerald stopped, listened. It stopped. He kept walking. It started again, closer this time, matching his pace. He told his daughter later that he convinced himself it was a woodpecker or a branch caught in the wind. But there was no wind that day. The air was completely still. As the light started to fade, Gerald realized he had drifted off course. He made camp quickly, set up his tent, built a fire, and tried to get his bearings on the map. Around 9 p.m., he heard footsteps, heavy ones, circling his campsite in the dark just beyond the tree line. He called out, no answer. He shone his flashlight into the trees. Nothing. Then the fire went out, all at once, like something had smothered it. And in the darkness, about 20 feet away, he saw a shape, too tall for a bear, upright, completely still. Gerald grabbed his pack and ran. He didn't stop until he hit the parking lot, nearly 2 miles away. At close to midnight, rangers searched the area the next morning. They found his campsite, his tent, and his fire pit, which according to their report, showed no signs of being disturbed. But they also found something else. On the tree directly across from where his tent had been pitched, carved deep into the bark, was a set of tally marks. 5 groups of 4, 20 marks total. No one could explain when they had been made or what they were counting. Gerald never went back. That story was reported to the Humboldt County Sheriff's Office in October of 2019. The official report listed the incident as unresolved. No evidence of criminal activity. Next, we head south to the California coastline, where an elderly couple checked into a roadside motel and walked out with a story they've never been able to shake. Story 2, the Pacific Coast Motel. Dorothy and Frank Weston were in their late 60s when they took a slow drive up Highway 1 to celebrate their 43rd wedding anniversary. No itinerary, no reservations, just the coast road, a good car, and wherever the evening took them. Around 9 o'clock, tired and happy, they pulled into a small motel just outside of Fort Bragg. Single story, 12 rooms. The kind of place with a hand-painted sign and a night manager who slid your key under a plexiglass window without much conversation. They were given room 7. The manager told them the place was nearly empty, just one other guest, all the way at the end of the row in room 12. Dorothy said the room smelled faintly of bleach, but it was clean enough. They were asleep by 10:30. She woke up at 2 in the morning to the sound of running water. Her first thought was that Frank had gotten up, but Frank was right beside her, sound asleep. The sound wasn't coming from their bathroom. It was coming from the room next door, room 8, which the manager had said was empty, steady, rhythmic, like a shower running on and on. Dorothy lay there listening. 10 minutes, 20. She nudged Frank awake. He listened too, then got up and knocked on the wall. The water stopped immediately. Frank said it was probably just old pipes. Dorothy tried to believe him. They both drifted back to sleep. At 4:15 a.m., Dorothy woke again, this time to a smell. Something chemical, sharp and sour. She described it later as smelling like nail polish remover or something worse. She got up to crack the window, and that's when she saw it. The door to room 8 was open, just barely, a few inches, and in the gap, there was a hand resting on the door frame, pale, perfectly still, not gripping, just resting. Dorothy screamed. Frank was up immediately. By the time he got to the window, the door to room 8 was closed. They called the front desk. The manager came down with a master key, opened room 8, and they all stepped inside. The room was soaking wet. The shower was off, but every surface, the floor, the bed, the walls, was damp, like the room had been filled with steam for hours. On the bathroom mirror, wiped clear through the condensation, were 4 words: "You should have knocked." The manager called the police. Officers came and processed the room. No other guests were found on the property. Room 12, where the one other supposed guest had been staying, was empty and showed no signs of recent occupancy. The hand Dorothy saw was never explained. The writing on the mirror was photographed and documented. Frank and Dorothy drove home the next morning without stopping. Dorothy told her daughter that she still sleeps with the light on, and that she will never again stay somewhere without a deadbolt she can see from the bed. The motel quietly closed within 6 months of that night. The official reason listed was change of ownership. 2 stories down, 1 to go. And like I said at the beginning, this last one is the worst. Because unlike the others, this one didn't just leave someone shaken. This one left someone missing. Story 3, the Desert Highway Incident. In the summer of 2021, a 61-year-old truck driver named Ray Acosta was running a late route through the Mojave. He'd driven Route 62 dozens of times, called it the loneliest road in California. Long, flat, and by midnight, completely deserted. Around 1 a.m., his headlights caught something on the shoulder, a car, Engine still running, driver's door hanging open. Ray slowed down. No hazard lights. No one standing nearby. He pulled over about 30 feet back, left his engine running, and stepped out. The car was a white sedan, late model. The radio was on, an old country station, barely any signal. A cup of coffee sat in the center console, steam still rising from it. Ray called out. Nothing. He pulled out his phone to call highway patrol. That's when he heard it. Footsteps crunching in the gravel, somewhere behind him in the dark. He turned around. His headlights only reached so far. Standing just at the edge of the light was a figure, slight, wearing a dark jacket, head tilted down so Ray couldn't see the face. He asked if they were okay, if they needed help. The figure didn't answer, but it took one slow step forward. Ray got back in his truck. He called 911 while he drove, gave them the mile marker, the description of the car, everything he'd seen. The dispatcher told him officers would respond and asked him to wait at a safe distance. Ray pulled over again about a quarter mile up the road and watched his mirrors. The figure walked past his truck without stopping, didn't look at him, just kept walking up the highway into the dark. Officers arrived 17 minutes later. The white sedan was still there, engine still running, coffee still warm, no registration in the glove box. The VIN had been removed from the dashboard. They searched the roadside for nearly an hour with flashlights. Found nothing. No figure. No footprints in the gravel shoulder. Ray gave his statement and drove home. He told the officer he kept thinking about one detail he hadn't mentioned on the phone. Something he'd noticed when he first looked in through the passenger window. There were 2 cups of coffee in the console. The passenger seat was empty, and the seatbelt on that side, the one no one was sitting in, was buckled. The driver of that vehicle has never been identified. The case is still open. 3 stories, 3 locations, 3 sets of questions that no one has fully answered. What was circling Gerald's campfire out in those redwoods? Who or what left that message on the mirror in room 8? And out there on Route 62, where was the passenger? I want to know which one got under your skin the most. Drop it in the comments, story 1, 2, or 3, and tell me why. If you made it this far, do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe if you haven't already. I put out new stories every week, and I promise it only gets darker from here. One last thing before you go. Route 62 is still out there. People drive it every night. And according to locals who travel that stretch regularly, every now and then, out past the mile marker where Ray pulled over, you'll still see a white car on the shoulder. Engine running. Door open. No one inside. Safe travels.